But one news item that I did want to cover that I did not get to talk about at that time, I know Mr. Fuji passed away, I talked about that on Monday, was Alberto Del Rio reportedly leaving the WWE as soon as possible. So here's the thing with Del Rio. He got suspended a little less than a month ago for violating the WWE wellness policy only days before SummerSlam. It was never said what he was suspended for. I mean, we never find out that kind of thing. It wasn't even rumored. I know Eva Marie went out and said that she was suspended for Adderall or late paperwork or whatever the hell it was. Del Rio is yet to issue a statement. Page, the same thing. They're just kind of pretty much low-key, not talking about it at all on their social media pages and whatever else. But even beyond that, it's just funny just because there was a clip on the channel, on the YouTube channel, from I think 3 or 4 weeks ago when we had Jamie on the show, a few weeks before SummerSlam, and I asked him point blank, do you think Del Rio and Sheamus, probably not Sheamus at this point, but do you think Del Rio and Sheamus could be on their way out of the company by the end of 2016? Now, Sheamus is currently involved in the whole best-of-7 series with Cesaro. He's won his last 2 matches against Cesaro. Good for him. That's a good little use of Sheamus for the time being. I couldn't care less about the guy, but at least they're doing something with him on Raw. Del Rio has just been floundering for months, pretty much ever since he came back, and I'll kind of rewind and talk about his past year in the WWE in a moment. But he has been doing nothing of note in many, many months. Probably since League of Nations broke up, he has done nothing of note, really. And reportedly, he might be on his way out of the company as soon as this month or next month or whatever. When he came back late last year at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, he reportedly signed a 1-year deal with WWE, and he had an out clause in his contract that if he wasn't happy or whatever, that he could just leave. And it seems like he's not happy creatively with his character or the direction his character is currently taking, which, can you blame the guy? I mean, they brought him back presumably for a main event level push. I know we only had one brand at that time. We did not have the 2 brands, and maybe if he was brought back now, he would probably be getting a bigger push just with 2 separate brands. And that's when he was, at the peak of his push 5 years ago, when he was the face of SmackDown, WWE Champion on Raw, World Heavyweight Champion on SmackDown. And once the brand split disappeared, they did nothing with him. Throughout all of 2014, the guy was a total waste on the roster before he got fired, quit, whatever, depending on who you talk to, in August of 2014, 2 years ago. So anyway, they bring him back just last year to have him beat John Cena clean in a 5 to 8 minute match. It wasn't very long at all, for the United States Championship. Paired them with Zeb Coulter, which was a mistake from the get-go, because the two had zero chemistry. And it was really all downhill from there. He really was not much different than he was the first time around. And I like Del Rio. I was a big proponent of Del Rio's push 5 years ago just because he was a fresh face in the main event scene. He had a lot of good matches and fresh feuds with John Cena, with Randy Orton, with CM Punk, and a few others as well. Even the matches he had with Big Show were really, really good. But it got to a point where it felt like he wasn't really evolving his character. The whole babyface thing didn't really work out the way they thought it would. And really from the get, it seems like the common theme with Del Rio dating back 5-6 years ago, is that they have always promised him a main event level push as their top Latino babyface, heel, whatever. And it has yet to really surface. I mean, they put the world title on him for a time in 2011 and again in 2013 as World Heavyweight Champion. But he was never really the guy. He was never really that top Latino star. And it made no sense to me when they brought him back last year as the next top Latino star, just because they already have Kalisto, who they've tried to push and they bombed. Not really Kalisto's fault, just kind of the awful promo that he cut at the draft was his fault. But prior to that, though, his lackluster booking as United States champion was entirely creative team's fault. But anyway, they already have the tools in the next Latino star in Kalisto, so why bring back someone from the past who's already really done it all? And I know I might sound, hypocritical, or it might be double standards because I've, said in the past, bring back Benjamin, bring back MVP, Kennedy, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like those guys never really got their just due. And maybe they wouldn't be world champion if they were brought back, but Del Rio, we've already seen him as world champion 4 times now. A former 2-time U.S. champion. We saw him do the whole stable thing with League of Nations, which was a complete waste of time and really got no one over in the end. That was a total waste. And even Wade Barrett himself said that the primary purpose of that group was to get Roman Reigns over. And I don't even know if it was successful doing just that. I mean, they feuded with Roman Reigns, sure, but did they really get him over with the audience? Not really. He just kind of squashed him, and that was it. There wasn't really anything new for the Roman Reigns character at that point. But anyway, though, so it looks like Del Rio is on his way out of WWE sooner rather than later, probably as soon as this month in September. And honestly, I saw the news break, I think it was either during Raw or SmackDown. I saw someone tweet it. I saw it come out again over the past week on various websites. It was, I think, pretty much confirmed by the Wrestling Observer newsletter that after being taken off several WWE dates, even past his suspension, it looks like he will be gone sooner rather than later. And to kind of confirm or debunk the theories about Paige leaving too with Del Rio, unless she quits, or even not if she quits, unless they fire her, she isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Reportedly, she is under contract until 2019, so that's another 2.5 years, 3 years down the line, so she's not going anywhere anytime soon. But Del Rio, though, it's really a shame. I could not care less. I saw that, and I barely batted an eyelash when I saw the report of him reportedly leaving. Again, it's not really his fault. Maybe it is. I saw the report that I saw from the Wrestling Observer newsletter noted that Triple H had heat on him, which had been going back weeks, even prior to his suspension, because he partied too hard, he was not a good influence on Paige, blah, blah, blah. And does that surprise me? Maybe a little bit, I'm not exactly sure. But again, it's a shame, because I thought they really could have done something with the guy when they brought him back a year ago and did the whole thing with John Cena. He was really a star for a night. He got a big reaction, and I think it was Los Angeles when he was brought back at Hell in a Cell. I just got finished rewatching that pay-per-view a few days ago. And it was really all downhill from there. No one gave a crap about him as U.S. champion when he was with Zeb Coulter. No one gave a crap about him in League of Nations. He hasn't done anything since, really. He was left off Extreme Rules. He was left off Payback. He was in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but no one knew. No one thought he was going to win, so that was really a waste. I don't think he was at Battleground. He wasn't. Obviously he was suspended for SummerSlam, but no one, even prior to that point, though, he was not scheduled to compete at SummerSlam, and I don't think that would have changed. So it's a shame. It looks like Del Rio will be gone from the company this month, and honestly, I really don't care. I think, and I've said this before, it's not that I hate Del Rio, because I was a huge fan of his, even a bigger fan of his here in the company I'm about to talk about than in WWE, in Lucha Underground. I thought he was killing it in the Mexican independent scene last year, early 2015. I know he had a few Ring of Honor matches. I didn't see those. I was not watching Ring of Honor at that point in time. But I heard he had a couple good matches with Christopher Daniels, with Jay Lethal, and then he came over to Lucha Underground in the spring of 2015. I thought he fucking killed it. I thought he had a great reign over there as Alberto El Patron, and I got to meet him last year at an indie event at Northeast Wrestling. He wasn't the greatest guy I've ever met, the nicest guy I've ever met, but he was still cool to say I've met a former WWE champion. But still, I thought he did some of his best work of his career in the last 6 years. A lot better work in Lucha Underground than he ever did in WWE, just because he felt motivated. He looked like he was happy. I know they might not have been paying him what he wanted, and that's really the only reason why he came back to WWE, not because he's old pals with Vince, or just home as he claims. The guy was, frustrated when he left 4 years ago, or 2 years ago, rather, so it's not really his home. But, I would love to see him go back to Lucha Underground. I don't know if that's in the cards. I don't know if he left in the best of terms. I don't know if he left AAA in the best of terms, just because when he left the first time last year, when he came back to WWE, I don't know if he did. He said that he told them, but he left as the AAA Mega AAA Champion, whatever the hell it's called. So, if they did indeed know, then why would they have kept the championship on him? I'm not exactly sure what that whole situation was about, so I don't know if it's an option to go back there, go back to Lucha. Again, I don't know if he left in the best of terms, because he pretty much said, screw you, I'm going back to where I can make more money, but he did, and he's not really all that happy there, so we'll see what the future holds for Del Rio, but one thing is almost for certain, not 100% for certain, but almost for certain, that he will be gone from WWE in the very near future.